So let's bring in co-founder of Lockwood College Prep, Andy Lockwood, to talk about it. Andy, thank you so much for your time. First of all, have you seen firsthand this diminishing college readiness?
Well, we typically focus on the parents not being ready for their kids to go to college, but there's definitely an issue with kids not being ready as well. We offer tutoring, for the SAT and the ACT, and my head tutor has been talking to me since the pandemic about each year how kids' scores and ability to do simple math and reading has declined both in both areas.
So, Andy, what do you think is to blame here? I mean, is this all just because of the pandemic?
Well, I think it's certainly correlated with the pandemic when kids seem to have a real falling off in terms of what they were able to learn and demonstrate proficiency at. But I also feel like there's maybe a little bit of an excuse that maybe kids are using not to be able to buckle down and to learn the content. But honestly, they're so distracted also, and the quality of teaching is always an issue, I think, in a lot of schools. So there's many factors. I don't know where to point the finger, but I think what families need to understand and to do is they need to take charge of this and get out in front of it. A lot of times they don't realize that there's a problem, but that study that you were citing indicated that kids felt that they were ready for college, and then they get to college and they're blown away by feelings of unpreparedness because they get lousy grades and don't perform well.
Yeah, and I know, so many of us are obviously addicted to our phones, and many times, if we want to know something, we look it up, but, are we really learning? What type of feedback, Andy, are you getting from your clients, from the parents and then from the students themselves?
Well, a lot of times they're surprised when they don't do as well in college, and a lot of it is a transition issue because they're going from a situation in high school where they had no free time. They were told to go from class A to B to C and so forth. Then they get to college and they might have one class twice a week and all this free time. So there's definitely a time management issue. But a lot of colleges and some of the elite ones, I think I read that Harvard just introduced a remedial math course because they found that kids were coming into college unprepared and not proficient. So people need to understand that and get out in front of it and start doing, I hate to say it, extra work that maybe that they're not able to get done in school from the regular resources that schools have.
Well, I know students definitely don't want to hear that, but when really is the ideal time to start prepping?
Well, it's as early as possible. Again, it's more about the perception that there isn't an issue, so they don't know what they don't know. So ninth grade, I think, is a very important year to take a snapshot and just see where they are at in terms of basic math and basic reading. Kids don't read anymore. Like you said, the smartphones are a big issue. By the way, the ACT has become shorter. They changed their format, I think, because we're in this attention span deprived situation. So they're trying to change also to offset the lower scores that they are now reporting for kids. But I think the key is to, and I hate to say this because I wouldn't have wanted to do this when I was in junior high and high school. They've got to start reading and performing on math with outside tutoring or whatever resources the schools are able to offer.
Yeah, I am a big proponent of math, and people say, well, we'll never use it, but it really teaches your brain how to think, which is why it's so important. I want to talk to you about something else. The president just signed an executive order to influence college accreditation. The administration is saying that it's become too focused on woke ideology. I'd like to listen to some of what he said.
Will we look into the past people that they've taken? For instance, I hear all about certain great schools, and then we read where they're going to teach people basic math that we can all do very easily, but they can't do. They're going to the top school, and they come out with a program of teaching basic math to somebody that got into a Harvard or a Princeton or a Yale.
And so what are your thoughts on that? I mean, people potentially going to these top schools, but coming out and maybe not having the skills that they really need.
Well, I think it's part of an overall sort of dumbing down trend in general. There's massive grade inflation in high schools across the country, and there's massive grade inflation at Harvard. I think years ago, something like 93% of Harvard grads were reputed to have graduated with honors. So, it's the question really is what is the credential that you're earning? What does it signify to the workforce? And a lot of employers, particularly Silicon Valley employers, are starting to pull away from the top colleges in terms of recruiting kids and offer their own tests in the interview process instead of just relying on the fact that a kid has good grades from a quote unquote good college. So I think it's great that we're looking at everything, the Trump administration, and we're all having these conversations. I don't know what the answer is. I don't want to touch the third rail of the whole woke thing, but I think that's healthy to look at also.
Yes, it never hurts to examine things. What do you think it's going to take, Andy, to change some of these trends, as we see these numbers continue to decline? How soon do you think we'll actually start to see some real change?
I hate to be a pessimist, but I think we've been going down this slippery slope for a long time, and until it comes to a head, I think with employers like refusing to hire kids who went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or whatever, which I don't foresee in the near future. I don't really think it's going to be a drastic change in a long time.
Well, we can hope. And Andy Lockwood, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.